Well everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 7a and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE and see which specific phone is a better one for you. Now both these phones are kind of different, but they're kind of the same thing. And I will tell you there are some advantages between both. The S21 FE came out last year, like early last year. The Pixel 7a came out pretty much a year after, so we're probably within a year time frame of both these phones coming out. And I like both of them. I think they're both really good. With the S21 FE, I will say this has more flagship features probably built in, but the Pixel 7a does kind of have some features built in that are kind of newer than the S21 FE, and we'll kind of talk about that in a second. Now, if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off with the S21 FE, the FE lineup from Samsung is pretty much like their budget tier phones. It's almost like their A lineup, I guess, of the Samsung Galaxy S devices. So with the S21 FE on the front, you are getting a 6.4-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's a pretty good panel, it's full HD, and it's a 120Hz panel as well. This is a pretty good display for the type of phone that you're getting, especially now that this phone has been out for a few months, almost over a year now. It's depreciated in the used market quite a bit, so you can easily buy this thing for about $250, maybe up to $300 depending on the variant that you buy. And that's actually a really cool thing that you're getting with this phone. The display is pretty big, the display is very vibrant, and it's definitely one of its biggest features. But because this is the S21 FE, this is stemming off, I guess, the S21 phone, which came out in 2021. So it is kind of using some older parts of some of those devices. It's kind of stemming off of that. So keep that in mind. It's not the end of the world or anything, but it is just one of those things to keep in the back of your head. Because with the Pixel 7a, this phone is stemming off the Pixel 7 that came out in 2022. So this device, although it's not as premium, I would say, as the S21 FE, you are getting a 6.1-inch OLED display. It's a 1080p panel as well, so smaller display but same resolution, but you are getting a 90Hz panel on that screen. Now, I think the S21 FE's panel is definitely better. They're both hole punch displays. There is more bezel on the Pixel 7a display as well, as far as I can tell. So that might be one thing to keep in mind here. If you're planning on getting a phone and you want the least amount of bezel or the best looking display, the S21 FE is going to be the better way to go. But I think the Pixel 7a still has a lot of ground to stand on, and I think it's a very good phone in that standpoint. Now both have USB-C ports on the bottom, which is awesome, and both of them have plastic backs. Now, I do think the plastic back on the Pixel 7a is a little bit better feeling. Like, I feel like that phone could pass off as a decent, the Pixel 7a I thought had a glass back. The Pixel 6a I also thought had a glass back. So for this thing to have like a plastic back that it does is actually kind of interesting to me, because it doesn't even really feel like it is a plastic back, but I guess now that I kind of feel it kind of does in a little bit. With the S21 FE, that one definitely has a plastic back. You can kind of tell, especially considering they're going for like a frosted glass approach. It's kind of not the best approach from, Samsung to kind of do there, but it is what it is. There's not much we can do about it. We have a triple camera setup on the S21 FE. We have a dual camera setup on the Pixel 7a, and definitely on the outside, you're getting your IP certification, which is nice. You're getting wireless charging on both, but you are getting reverse wireless charging on the Pixel, but you are getting reverse wireless charging on the Galaxy S21 FE, which I think is a nice touch. So overall, definitely what I'll tell you, both phones are great. I like both of them a lot, but I would probably say the S21 FE is more of the flagship one, which is kind of evident, but that's basically what you're getting with this type of device. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. Now in terms of the camera setups between both these devices, the cool thing here is that with the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, it is probably going to match in line with the Galaxy S21, which is good, but it's also bad in some ways, because with the Galaxy S21, like I said, that phone came out in 2021. So it's a little bit dated as of this, day and age. And I feel like because of that, you are going to be stuck in this kind of weird phase where you might have a phone that hardware-wise is not that bad and it just came out in 2022, but it may end up getting unsupported with software, maybe like next year or the year after. We really don't know, but I've seen things like that happen all of the time, and something like that could easily happen right now. So take it as you will, but that's kind of one thing to kind of keep in mind there. With the Pixel 7a though, this is definitely one of the better advantages with that specific phone. You can easily get that phone today, and it's going to be lasting for quite a bit of time, and that's easily one of my favorite things about the Pixel 7a, is that phone is going to be lasting for a long period of time in the software department. So again, take it as you will, but that is easily one of my most favorite things going on with the Pixel 7a, is because even though it did stem off the Pixel 7, you're still going to be getting a very long supported phone from that device over the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE, as far as I can tell. So keep that in mind there, but regardless, they're both very good phones at the end of the day. Now, moving on to the camera side of things, the Pixel 7a, like I said, has a dual camera setup. It has a 64 megapixel wide-angle lens and a 13 megapixel ultra-wide camera, which is crazy because that's actually a very big amount. That's like a lot of megapixels to have right there. With the Galaxy S21 FE, you are getting a 12 megapixel wide-angle lens, an 8 megapixel telephoto lens, and then a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera. On top of that, you are also getting, front cameras that are pretty decent. 32 megapixel front-facing camera on the S21 FE, 13 megapixel, 4K 30 camera on the front of the Pixel 7a. Now, I think between both, you're probably getting the overall better camera as far as I can tell on something like the Galaxy S21 FE. I've always felt like Samsung has done a great job with those cameras. You're also getting way more features built inside of a camera like the, S21 FE than in something like the Galaxy as, built on the Pixel 7a. So I think the 7a's camera is good. I think it's a good improvement from the Pixel 6a as far as I can tell. But like I mentioned, the problem that I kind of have with the Pixel 7a and even with the Pixels in general is that there's just not a lot of features built inside of that camera. And I do kind of feel like that Google could do a better job and kind of lead the way for some of these camera manufacturers to give us better camera features. Like if they gave us as many features as Samsung cameras does, I mean, that would be insane. It's an insane amount of things that you can get within that camera. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look like we can do that. Like we're just kind of stuck in this weird phase where it's not as many features as the Samsung cameras. And it's kind of been like that for a few years. So I'm really hoping Google kind of improves it there. Now, in the performance side of things, they both have different types of chipsets and they're both kind of all over the place. So with the Google Pixels, with the Galaxy S21 FE, this phone had the Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset inside with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model, but it does go up to 8 gigabytes of RAM if you want to, go up that high. With the Google Pixel 7a, you are getting that Google Tensor G2 chipset inside with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the good thing here you could say is that with the Galaxy, with the, Pixel 7a, you are getting 8 gigabytes of RAM on the model. So you don't have to go and spend more money to get that same amount of RAM. However, I will say there are lots of reasons why these Snapdragon chipsets are better than the Google Tensor chipsets. Those Mali GPUs inside of those Google Tensor chipsets, I'm just not a big fan of, and I'm really hoping at some point Google kind of somehow switches over to Snapdragon. I think that would be amazing. And I'm looking back at the Pixel phones that had those Snapdragon chipsets, and they were very good. They had so much capability inside of them. The problem is for some of those big, intensive games and applications, they sometimes work better on those type of Snapdragon chipsets over these, Google Tensor ones. So that can be kind of an annoying issue for some people, including myself. I would rather have a phone that is, very powerful in that sense, and as, maybe a little bit more, like the Tensor chipsets I think are more efficient, maybe giving you some better battery life here and there, but I still feel like Google could do some improvements there as well. So to kind of sum up this whole entire video, what I'll tell you is, I definitely do think that the Pixel 7a is a very good phone, and I think the Galaxy S21 FE is also a very good phone as well. Is there a perfect one between these two? Probably not. Like, I don't think there's one that I look at and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the, camera, or this is the battery, or this is the performance, or this is the whatever inside of one phone that I'm like, this is so much better. I think the one I would probably recommend most people to buy now is probably the Pixel 7a, and that's mostly because the Galaxy S21 FE, like, if it matches how long the S21 is lasting, well, that can cause some issues, and I could see why some people would want to upgrade their phone, mostly because, this is not going to last as much longer in terms of software. But I will say, if you are somebody who is wanting to keep a phone for a year or two, maybe the S21 FE is the better way to go. It's more of a flagship type of phone, I would say. But I will still look at something like the, Google Pixel 7a as a very good phone. I'd still recommend buying that one too. And you can't really go wrong with that device either. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.